Okay, picking up on these. Yeah, so sometimes if you take that down, say you want to hit around 2 on that, seems to be doing a pretty good job. I mean, okay, yeah, it's still not, it's still, you're trying to do the adaptive, and so if you're trying to run that with adaptive off, look at it, making an idiot out of me. Sometimes, and you saw it in class, you know, it'll eat that hole up. So it can help to, let's make sure my stroke here is down yet, something fairly small. It can help to outline these things if you need to, and so yeah, you could draw around that. In this case, since it seems to be working okay, I'm going to just leave it alone and not do anything to it. Because I'm getting the count that I want, or real close to it. I think it's about 2100. That's about as good as it's going to get, and it's looking like it's giving me pretty good geometry down around there. The only thing that's happening is it might be a little bit off of the surface from the handle, the under part here, or the one with a lot of geometry on it. So yeah, I can bring both those up so that they're visible. And if I need to, I can project, and I want to select the one that I want to project. I'm going to pick it and make sure that only the 2 that I want to project to are visible, and come to project here in the tool palette, and you can do project all. Now what happens here in terms of these distances is if you hold down Control and mouse over them, this will, they say, effect the projection distance for each normal from the source mesh to the target mesh. So increasing this number gives you a greater range. So if you have something that has a lot of difference from the other, then you would want to increase or decrease that number depending on whether it's outside or inside of the target mesh. So in this case, this thing is really close to it already, so I probably don't even need to do anything with this. But if it's not hitting what you want, try adjusting this upwards first, and then projecting it. And then here it takes the point average or the point difference from the, and what this does is, in this case, this mesh has a lot fewer points than the original mesh, so it can kind of average out between those and try to do its best again to project things. So and then the projection shell, again, you can push this out, pull that in, and again, this one's kind of nice in that it gives you a little image of what's happening. And whether you want to go in or outer or from the farthest, I'm just going to use the default settings. They seem to work pretty well, and just do project all. And this thing has polypaint on it, so I'm just going to say yes, I want to project it. And that'll project that paint to the new mesh, and you see it does a little bit better better job of pulling the geometry very close to the other. If it's still not quite getting what you want, sometimes you can use the move tools to move things in by hand, or you can try adjusting the let's undo that and adjust the distance. Let's adjust it out quite a bit, and do that, and yes. And a little bit better job, still about the same. The thing I really want is to just try to catch a little bit of these edges right in here. So let's see, let's hide that under one, and it looks like it did a little bit better job of getting those. And this all looks fine back in here. Let's Shift F to turn that to that. And again, it's going to soften it a little bit with when we BPR render it. So let's just see how that looks at a few spots. That looks really good. Again, this is a sketch model, so I'm not really looking for anything with a lot of hyper detail. I just want to drop the face count, so if I render this thing in 3D Studio, it's not going to take a long time or take as long to render it. Everything else on that looks pretty good. You could also try, if you wanted to, let's bring this one back up and make sure I'm on this one. Turn the polyframe on. You could try relaxing and then reprojecting. Sometimes you can get better results out of that. So down under deformation, relax that quite a bit, and then reproject it. But it looks like it, yeah, kind of put it back pretty much to what it was doing to begin with. So it looks like it's doing a pretty good job as is. Let's hide that one. And let's turn the polyframe off and render that. Okay, yeah, looking fine. All right, so once I've got these decimated, or not decimated, but remeshed the way I want, I'm just going to make all the pieces that I want to export visible, and then go to my Z plugin. First, let's turn my floor on just so I know I'm looking at the right, yeah, and that everything's pretty much oriented the way I want. My total points, let's see, my handle here is about 3,000. That looks good. That one's at 1,300. Looks great. 3,000 on that. Yeah, this is all doing quite well. Excuse me. So, excuse me. Z plugin subtool. Sorry, 3D print exporter. I want to do visible or selected, depending on, in this case, visible. And I'll want to do OBJ export. Let's take a look at our advanced options to make sure everything is where what we want to use. I think the defaults pretty much are. The biggest thing is you just want to make sure that this is not checked so that you can export all of these as a single file. And if you did have any, if you painted any textures on these, you would want to put your settings here, probably to PNG, or if you're using JPEG for these, run their quality all the way up to 100. In this case, it doesn't have any, so I don't need any of those. So you could uncheck textures there. And I don't think it's going to export the colors. Yeah, it's not supported by colors, not supported by OBJ, so you could leave that off. Let's see, let's use our make sure our sliders up here. So let's update our size ratios, and let's take a look at, let's see, in X here, that's going to be the widest point of this thing, and decide about how wide we want to make that. So let's see what we were getting from that size. So it's making it, see if we take that to around 3, it's going to make it about 13. Yeah, so that looks just fine. So I'm going to do that. That might be a little bit thin. I may want to go a little bit bigger, but I think that's going to work okay. And so once I get all that set, then I can go to OBJ, click that, and navigate to where I want to put it. Let's see, let's put it here in this project file. Let's see, looks like I've got a project there. Yeah, so let me give this a new name. O1, yeah, OBJ, and save that, and it should give me yep, successfully exported. Okay, so once I've done that, let's bring up 3D Studio. I'll pause the video while that loads, and then pick it up. All right, resuming. What I want to do is go to File, Import, and then navigate to where put that, let's see, projects, there it is, and tell it to open. The biggest thing you need to watch out for here is that you've got everything selected, so it only has 3 parts to it. Here they are, and that you have import as editable poly turned on right here, and then it should do everything else automatically. If it doesn't, come down to this preset and go to the ZBrush preset, turn that on. But again, just make sure that you have that import as editable poly on, that you want texture coordinates and smoothing groups on, and everything else should be, all the defaults should be good. So I'm going to import that, and there we go, and we can check size of things. Here in Max, I'm so used to driving Z that I'm forgetting my navigation. So that actually looks pretty good. Oops, a little bit offset, not a problem. What I can do there is adjust the pivot points of these and center everything up. So to do that, I'm going to come over to the hierarchy tab. This is probably not something I've covered in class, but I can show it. And just go to Effect Pivot Point Only, and I'm going to center it to the object. Pick the next one, Effect Pivot Point Only, center to object, and the last part there, center to object. And then once I've done that, then I can select these, press W to get my Move tool, and you see an X here. I want to put everything at the origin or along the origin line. So I'm just going to right click here on the X's slider and center everything up around the X. And I'm not really worried about everything else. Everything else looks like it's pretty good. This looks like it's right down on the ground plane, so the Z plane in this case. So that all looks pretty good. The size looks about right. This is 16, would be 16 units across here, and so this thing looks a little bit smaller than that, so that looks okay. Alright, so now it'd be time to start creating some materials. These things looks like they came in with some materials, and we hit F4 to get rid of the, I know they did, because they each have a different color here, and they would be the wireframe color if they didn't have materials on them. So it looks like it just put default materials on them. So I'm going to create some new materials for that. And so to do that, I'm going to press M to bring up the material editor, and you can see if I scroll all the way down here to the bottom that it's going to show some of these what's actually in the scene. It looks like it's got some default materials in there, so that's one of them. Oops, sorry, let's just double click it to bring it up, and you see that yes indeed it has the white triangles. So some of these parts have it. It looks like these dark gray parts have it. And let's see what this thing has. Okay, it looks like it has it as well. So yeah, they all have this standard material on them. So I can just start with that. That'll be one. And then I'll bring some others in. It looks like I'm about to run out of time on this video, so I will stop this and pick up the material editing in the next.